So let's take a moment and open sacred space. I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you, and bring your attention inward. Today I want to talk about awakening the shaman within, and dealing with the difficulties that come along in life and how we shift things shamanically. So I invite you, as you have your eyes closed, to come inside and feel that you're going deeper and deeper. There is a moment, that first layer, that when we close our eyes, new information stops coming in. And if we go a little bit deeper in and deeper in, we have slowly that deeper self, the true self. The heart of who we are, our soul that once was a child and once was a young teenager, and then a 20-year-old teenager. That soul that journeyed through all these decades and different phases in life. And that one self, no matter what is happening, that's the true soul that returns and finds beloved ones over and over again, and is with beloved ones over and over again. So feel as you're inhaling, you can recognize you're allowed, because this is you're reaching into, you're allowed to come into that seat of who you truly are as a whole person. As a whole person, regardless of what's happened or what is happening now. A beautiful, intact soul. And gently hold yourself and feel that love for that part of the self, that part of yourself. Allowing your heart to open as I open the 4 directions. To the winds of the south, great serpent, great beloved Amaru, be here with us. Wrap your coils of light around us. Teach us how to shed our skin and let go of the past. Teach us how to feel Mother Earth as a living being, as you always feel her, belly to belly with her always. Teach us, remind us that we need to awaken and to heal her once again. Be here, serpent, awaken us in light. Remind us how to shed our skin and let go of the past. Horpichai. To the winds of the west, Otorongo great Jaguar, be here, pace around us. Connect us all, no matter where we're dialing in from. Allow your heartbeat to echo in our heartbeat. Great Jaguar, you who crosses the rainbow bridge to the other side of the spirit world. Accompany me, accompany us to both sides. So we move with no fear in this world or the next. Allow that heartbeat to echo in our heartbeat. Allow us to know your tenderness and your strength. Be here, Jaguar, lead the way. Horpichai. To the winds of the north, sweet Colimbri, hummingbird, beloved ancestors, be here with us. Sweet hummingbird, bring us your sweetness. Remind us that we can collect the nectar. Remind us that as small as we are, as small as we can feel sometimes, we have the ability to do great things as you do that great crossing across the Gulf of Mexico, as small as you are, crossing 2,500 miles of water. Remind us that all crossings meet us on the other side with nectar, with sweetness, with love. Beloved ancestors, winds of the north, for all traditions we find you at the north. Taoists, yogis, shamans, all the great ones meet at the north. So great yogis teach us how to be rested in our body at all times when we're in ease or disease. Great shamans teach us how to transcend at all times, when we're young, when we're old, when we're shifting. And great Taoists teach us the ways of power, the ways of healing. Be here with us. Allow your words to be heard today so we all benefit from the ancestor voice of your teachings. Horpichai, to the wind of the east, great condor, be here, soar above us, allow us to rise above and see the greater picture of life. Allow us to rise above and see with clarity all those who are around us, with clarity and discernment to realize who is supporting us, who is holding us back, who is propelling us forward and up. Allow us to have clarity of where we want our mission to go, our destiny line to go. Be here, Condor, and remind us the greatest gift of all. Remind us that we're connected with divine always, 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 like you are connected as you always fly wing to wing with a great one. Horpichai. Pachamama, Dulce Mamita, sweet Mother Earth, thank you for your gifts. Thank you for allowing us to be here together. Thank you for sustaining us. Thank you for giving us all those melodies of the birds, all the purring of the cats, all the growling of the bears. Thank you for giving us the gargling water of the waterfalls. We return to you again and again. Thank you for holding us again and again. We're in gratitude, and we hope that we are reaching a point of awakening so we could start healing all the damage we've done to you, so we could restore Mother energy, so we could restore the respect to Mother that we need to have, so we can bring you back again, so you can feel healed again, so you can sustain us again. Thank you, Mother Earth, for all your gifts. Horpichai. Intitaita Mama Kilya, Father, Son, Grandmother Moon, thank you, Father, Son, for the light you send us, for helping us stand on our hind feet and grow taller and evolve spiritually. Thank you for giving us the flames to burn old contracts, the light to have clarity. And Mama Kilya, sweet Grandmother Moon, thank you for the quality of reflecting, for your silver light, for what you sent to us, for how you hold us at nights when we sleep and we rise above to the dream world and the spirit world. Thank you for holding us and guiding us through these pathways and holding us safe and loved. Horpichai. And with your hands to your heart, bow your chin to your heart. Thank yourself for everything that you do for your healing and your evolution. And if you wish to, only if you wish to, bow deeper to any god or goddess, any saint or avatar, anyone you walk with. I bow today to Saint Francis, who has been with me for a very long time, to beloved Jesus, to my awesome Lord Shiva, to Hanuman, the monkey god, to Christ and Joseph, his father. I bow to Mary, to Shakti, and to Magdalene. Gently inhale and open your eyes and return. All right. Welcome once again. It happens at yoga classes too, or classes whenever I'm opening sacred space. When I open my eyes, there's more people in the room. So welcome everybody. Welcome everyone. I am honored that you're here. Thank you so much for your time. I am especially honored with the presence of my father and my mother, my beloved sister, and my beloved brother-in-law, Rob. I am honored by each and every one of you. So today, I want to say just a couple of things on logistical stuff that I have these like flashing cards coming up. No, I don't. But just a couple of things to know, because a lot of times people say, I don't know, I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know that was happening. So I just want to say that next Wednesday the 14th, I'm starting a new series of Wednesday nights. This is 6 weeks, 6 Wednesdays of shamanic series, 1 hour. For those of you who are registered in the Jaguar Path training, this is for free. For those of you who register, it's $99 But if you register to the Jaguar Path training, you will get that as a credit. And it's a beautiful experience. I'm very happy. I've never done this before to say I'll do an hour only, but I find it to be, I'm surprised, it's really awesome to have that time to be together and to touch on subjects. Wednesday the 14th at 6 p.m. I'm offering a masterclass on the luminous body. I'm going to be demonstrating a little bit about how energy works. And that is an awesome class that is really, really close to my heart, because it is the first class I created called Yoga at the time, Yoga and the Luminous Body. And it brings the understanding of why yoga is so shamanic and why shamanism is so yogic. For any one of you who does yoga or shamanism, I think you will find this interesting. For me, it is fascinating, and it is, as you all very well know already, it is my mission and my journey in life. I approach, and I'll just jump right into it from here on. Those are the two, that's the only logistical stuff I want you to know of, and reach out if you want to know more information. We will send you an email. But I want to go back directly to just jump into our subject today. And the subject, the title was Finding the Shaman Within. But also the original title, and one of the things that I've discovered is something that's come really close to my attention in these last few days, is talking to a friend who has been dealing with difficulties and has been dealing with some issues for quite a while. And I hadn't heard from this friend in a very long time, because I've left Greece 15 years ago. And so I haven't seen my friend for 15 years, but I was surprised to see that what we talked about over the phone 2-3 years ago was still around. And it just got me thinking. It just got me thinking, because this friend of mine is an awesome creative guy, a talent in movie making. And it just breaks my heart to see that my brother has been held back all this time because of some events in life that created some anger. So as I meditated on it, I realized it's like, wait a minute, when I left Greece, I had some anger, and it has nothing to do with Greece. Greece is a very sweet country. People get angry throughout the world. It is a very human anger. Has anyone ever felt anger? Let me just start with that. I have. I'm going to raise my hand. Anyone? Okay. Okay. So it's a very natural feeling, and actually it's really deeply rooted inside us. It's mammalian, and it's there to help us. It's part of, like, when I'm seeing a lion attack me, I get angry because I don't want the lion attacking me. And that anger helps my adrenals, helps me get into fight or flight, and I'm out of there, and I can save my life. At the same time, what happens is that we get charged with different emotions. And there's some events, it's like looking back at events that I had in my life, if they were to happen again, I most likely would feel more or less the same thing. There are things that people do sometimes that are upsetting. Sometimes someone can say or do something on purpose or accidentally that can make you sad. It can make you angry. It can make you confused, frustrated. It can create anxiety. You may experience jealousy. You may experience resentment, fear. Am I missing out anything? Write it in the chat box. There's a lot of these emotions, and I want to first of all say that these emotions, one of the things that I experienced when I found myself, when I was diagnosed with 4th stage cancer and was given 3 months to live in 2003, is that a lot of what was happening inside me was anger and fear. And it took quite a while. It was there for me for years. And I realized that although my brain somehow wanted to hold on to some events and some things that happened, the events, the people, the situation was really physically not there anymore. Obviously, I had moved countries, I had changed jobs, I had changed who I was. But every now and then still, I was discovering that the anger was popping up, that I was like finding myself spending a whole day back in that same emotion. And now that I saw my friend in this state again, I realized that we invest a lot of energy in these emotions. So the call of the jaguar and the shaman is to say, okay, well, if I'm going to expend so much energy, if I'm going to invest who I am in a subject, then I better invest wisely, right? If we were all go to the stock market, we'd ask our best friend and someone that's really smart to tell us where to put our money. So I can take that subject, whatever it was that happened that made me really angry, I can deal with it. But I discovered that with my old tools before I discovered yoga and before I discovered shamanism, I wasn't dealing with them. I was captive of those issues. I would be totally hijacked. My emotional world, my endocrine system, my whole nervous system, I was just captive. So I can't just let go of the things that happen because they're going to be lurking somewhere in the back of my brain, somewhere in my subconscious. They will be dictating the way I behave. If I'm angry and I'm just closing it down and hiding it, I probably will become passive aggressive. I probably will find out then that I'm bottling up a lot of other emotions because I'm not expressing what I really feel. So here comes this new thing in the world of the stock market, shamanism. And if I can really take all that energy that I feel, and all that energy that I've already invested in dealing with that emotion, in going around in circles, and actually the same circles for a very long time. Have you ever found yourself being angry with something for a year? Let me see. Okay, so let's up it. Have you ever been angry for 10 years about one thing? 10 years. 10 years, that's a lot of life. And if even it was like an hour each time, and it wasn't an hour, and it's just like, it is so much. And it just hit me that it is just so important that if I have a know-how of how to deal with my emotion, then not only can I heal it, but actually what I've discovered through the shamanic work and what the shamans, my beloved brothers, the fathers, allies, compadres, they call me, Don Francisco, Don Sebastian, and I see many of you have met them, and Don Manuel and Maestro Panduro. What they taught me is that you take that, you take it on. What I took on when I was diagnosed with cancer and I was given 3 months of life, what I took on was this huge amount of energy. The doctor said, here you go, here's a truck of energy, and it's you. And goodbye, thank you. And then I was alone with that in my head. And it's the same thing. Or, you leave a relationship that ended badly, or you leave a job that ended badly. You're carrying around a truckload or a pickup truck maybe of anger, unresolved. And the trick or the understanding that what dawned on me, and to be honest, it's like coming really into words this last few days, is that you want to take that energy. You cannot avoid it. It's yours. Once it's given to you, it's yours. But if you leave it as it is and you try to deal with it, to process it by becoming more angry and angry again, because that's what the mind does. Every time I would think of the fact that I was really angry and because of the way I had done this or that, or who did this to me and did that to me, I would just relive my anger. And it would not process. It would just repeat itself, unchanged. And actually, the truth of the matter, the way the brain works is that it would actually be a little bit more anger every time. And like a story, my mind was really, was adding on to the story. Was kind of like putting a little flowers around it, was making it bigger, was making it deeper. The story was a little bit different. Every time it was just more of how right I am and how wrong that thing that people did to me were and all that. Everyone have done that? Thanks for the allies. I don't feel alone. What? I'm the only one. So the idea is that now you have, with whatever's happened to you, you have an amount of energy that you are entitled to put anywhere you want and use in the way you want. Because now you want it or you don't, that energy is yours. And what shamans say is that that is the energy that can be your number one motivator, the energy that can be your number one focus to create a mission, and the energy that's going to sustain you throughout the whole mission to arrive there. And we see this with people that have gone through loss. When they create a new mission, they move, they create foundations, they create things for other peoples. With people that have been hurt badly, we see that, or have been even to a close death experience, or have suffered, we see that there's a deepening of compassion and an awakening of heart. So the shamans of Peru taught me one thing, that it is only when you've been wounded and only when you've gone through a difficulty that you have been given the opportunity to awaken your compassion and to become a healer that can actually heal others. Because when you become a healer because you're coming out of something yourself, you know that path. You know the pain, you know the fear, you know the anger, you know all the emotions that go with it, and you know every step that took you out of that. So shamans say that life is always happening, and everything in life will always happen. Things that will upset us, things that will make us sad, things that will make us angry, things that will make us frustrated. But every time I get this amount of energy, if I can invest it, if I can channel it and invest it into becoming a deeper, into becoming more human, to deepen my humanity, to deepen my compassion, then I'm living the life of a shaman, or the life of a saint, or the life of a person that's decided that they're not going to bring more tears to the world, they're not going to bring more loud voices to the world and complaints, but we're joining a group of people that are bringing more laughter, sweetness, and healing to the world. Because at the end of the day, who I am makes the world, who you are makes the world. And there are problems in the world, but if I view them only as problems and I don't view them as a motive, if I don't use them as an inspiration to do something about it, I will always just move backwards. So along with that, the idea is that when something happens, it takes over the mind. So here I just want to talk about something about the technology of being angry or upset, frustrated, jealous, being fear, being resentment, etc. And you can fill in the gap, anything that you felt that has overtaken, that has happened to you in life. And I'm going to say that if you notice that one of those words is what you have felt in life, I'm willing to bet that you've had this experience happen to you again and again. Something from early elementary school to high school to the college to when you were working to yesterday that made you upset is something that comes up again. I get angry. What usually happens to me is I get angry. What usually happens to a friend of mine is he gets afraid. What usually happens to another friend of mine, she gets sad. We have a usual place we go to. There is an element of our personality that is our to-go, that is our prefixed, predisposed place we live in. And this is where all these ancient ones come together. The Taoists, the martial artists who created martial arts, the Taoists from China, the monasteries in China who created martial arts, acupuncture, Chinese medicine, Chinese astrology. They talk about when we're born, under the stars we're born, we're given a certain set of meridians in our body that correspond with the meridians of the night sky. So where the stars are, imagine above you, even if it's daytime and you can't see them, they're reflecting an imprint of that. When I came out, that was the first impression I got energetically from coming here. And that predisposition, if you want, is just like I remember it was like my son's predisposition was that he didn't like cheese. When he was 1.5 years old and I tried to give him some soft cheese, he spit it out and he said, "Dad, I never liked cheese." And I'm like, "What do you mean? You've been here for 500 days. When is the never you're referring to?" He had a predisposition towards that. There's a specific dislike. And that he came with, that he was born with. So for me, the key element of shamanism, yoga, and martial arts, and why I say they're the same, first of all, because they're prehistoric. They're pre-civilization, the Western world, ancient Greek civilization or ancient Egyptian. They're pre-religion, and they are maps that are given to us from human beings from 7,000, 10,000, 20,000 years ago, who are more acutely experiencing life in their body rather than their mind. And these 10,000 years ago, we're closer to our mammalian self and to our feelings, to our instincts and sensations, physical sensations in the body, before we develop the mind later on. And we'll talk about overdeveloping it the last 100 years or 300 years. That's a whole other chapter. But overused rather. It's not overdeveloped, it's overused. So the reference to these three ancient shamanic, yogic, and Taoistic practices is that there's an understanding that every emotion that I have and every experience that I have is dictated, how I feel is dictated by an emotion itself. Right? So when something happens, I'm immediately feeling in my body. When something upsets me because I'm a person from the Western world, I usually say, well, that made me angry because when I went to school and my parents gave me these specific values, and this is not correct according to my values. That is a thought. It has nothing to do with what I'm feeling. What I'm feeling is a secretion of hormones. If I'm angry, it's more like adrenaline that is, or cortisol spilling into my bloodstream, and now I'm feeling viscerally my anger. What happens, and it could be sadness. Sadness comes in, and it comes into my lungs and my lung meridian. I can't breathe so well because I'm feeling all this sadness holding me down. When any of all these things happen, anxiety, sadness, frustration, jealousy, fear, resentment, and there's not a lot more, there's only a few. There's some that I can't read for my writing was bad. So I guess I'm over those emotions, thank God. If I am angry or sad or frustrated, what happens is that I immediately feel that I am in threat. And this ancient mechanism that really saved us, and is that basically one of the only reasons, or the major reasons, that we're still alive as a species, because not all species have made it through the last millennia. The reason we're still alive is because our adrenals turn on and we're in fight or flight. But what happens when our adrenals turn on and we're in fight or flight, all the electricity moves to the front of the body, to the back of the body, to my adrenals and to the amygdala. And hence, I can really move fast, outrun a wolf, or hopefully save myself from this or that. When I'm there, all the electricity moves from the prefrontal cortex and goes to the back and down to the mammalian brain. The prefrontal cortex, though, have you heard about the third eye that the yogis talk about, or the opening of enlightenment, the halo that we see with Christ, with Buddha, with Shiva? All that is prefrontal cortex and pineal gland. When the electricity comes and I'm using my prefrontal cortex, I can feel love, I can feel compassion, I can feel that I want to offer healing, and I can feel forgiveness, and I can make a plan, not only all those emotions and thoughts and abilities rather as tools, I also have intuition in my prefrontal cortex. Nothing in the amygdala of all that lives. When I'm in the amygdala, I am mad. And think of the two meanings of the word mad. When I get mad, I've become mad. It's like, have you ever, even to a beloved one, maybe your husband, your wife, your brother, your sister, have said something like, da-da-da-da-da-da, like, I get out of here, said something, and then you're like, my God, I didn't mean to say that. I love that person so much. I'm sorry I said that. But that moment when we're in the amygdala, we don't have the capacity to hold our tongue or to actually make a good plan of what we're going to be doing. No plan. There is no plan other than running, freezing, or fighting. Like physically, those three are choices with no other plan. So the idea is that I have found, and I know very well, as common in these three ancient studies of the human condition, human body, these deep understandings of our species and the nature of our species, they all three talk about this one fact before you talk about anything else. You will not be enlightened if you're angry. And it's not about being evaluated by someone else by saying, well, he didn't have forgiveness, so we can't make him a saint, or she was always frustrated, so she's not going to become a saint. No, there's no one evaluating who makes a saint. We come into the saint world, or we come into the sane world, and we become into our best self, our pure self, when we can stay in the prefrontal cortex and not only forgive, not only overcome, but use that to evolve, to share with others our evolution, and to rise above. All these three ancient ones give practices. It's like, and here's where comes also, it's like the Karate Kid story. You know, Kung Fu and mastering Kung Fu, which I've loved since a child and studied through the 90s. And I'm so grateful my wife is a master of, is that Karate Kid story really refers to the fact that it's not about how I'm going to deal with things in my mind. When the kid goes and says, teach me, we all think that we learn things in the head, and we don't, because we don't only exist in our head, we exist in our whole body, in our whole nervous system, in our whole endocrine system, and our meridian system. At the end, when all those do their job, our head, our brain, gets the thought and say, well, I'm feeling really bad right now. But we're feeling bad because everything is happening in the body itself. So the idea again is that these three practices give us tools to be able to overcome. So if I've received something that happened to me and that made me really sad or really angry, etc., then I know that what's just happened is a huge amount of energy that was given to me, if I wanted it or not. Usually it's when we don't want it. We just get this whole load of energy. And again, it's not going to dissipate and it's not going to change, especially when we're talking about something that happened a year ago. But what I can do, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, but what I can do is save myself the trouble and gift myself the life and not let it hold me down, not let it hijack me and put me in my adrenals in fight or flight and live my life mostly there. Because if I am angry for 10 years, I'm living in fight or flight. And the most beautiful bird just passed by and I did not have a clue. I didn't see it. I was preoccupied. And think of this, if you have an emotion you're working with, it's taking practically 10, 20, 30% of the actual electricity of your body. And it's putting you in a state that while newness is coming, you almost can't catch it because you were looking at the back door, you were looking at the back room while all this, beautiful flock of birds just passed by. So the practices of yoga and Kung Fu and the shamanic practices help us move out of the state of fight or flight and move into the prefrontal cortex. So all the meditations are focusing between the eyebrows and the front. I'm inviting, and Patanjali in the Yoga Sutra says, where I look, prana follows. Where I look, energy goes. So if I'm bringing the electricity between my two, I'm looking between my eyebrows through my closed eyelids. The electricity begins to gather in the prefrontal cortex. And now my thought about what has happened is the thinking and analyzing. But if I can also incorporate some of the tools, then what happens is that I can really use the amount of energy for my evolution. So there's two things that are characteristic, that the mind needs points of reference. When something happened, I'm going to start looking left and right, up and down, and I'm going to lose my what do you call it? I'm going to lose my center. I'm going to lose my sense of direction and my bearings. Thank you. So we need points of reference, and the points of references for us in the Western world, and many of you know that I love the Western world. I'm very happy to also be living in Costa Rica. And I have nothing against materialism or the Western world. I think that I agree with Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, who says both the material and the spiritual are for the soul. This is a 7,000-year-old statement. When I know how to be in the world of both places. But what has happened in the Western world, we lost a lot of points of references in relationship to nature and animals, right? The Industrial Revolution brought us some sense of like, oh, life is getting so much better because I can remain, hot, warm in the winters. I can be cool in the summers. I have a TV. I can watch a movie at my house. I can bake, cook, whatever it is, all this industrial revolution and then technological revolution. And again, I have nothing against them, especially when we're talking about hospitals that can help people, or the school bus that could take our children to school, or whatever it is. Technology can be good. And management can become better. But that's for another topic and another time. But one of the things that happened that was not a positive was that we lost our relationship to the earth. We got more into cement walls, we got into asphalt roads, and we created these humongous cities, which in most of the population, our population lives. And I myself lived in a very big city, in a very densely, it's not big city actually, it was just densely populated city in Athens, Greece for most of my life, 5 million people. And I think 20 million cars, cars and pollution. But when we escape, or rather when we are taken away from nature, we begin to lose our own nature. When I can have a point of reference of an animal, a bird, a waterfall, my nervous system immediately identifies with these and allows for its energy, the electricity that moves through my nervous system, will flow with that. And there's my anger, and then I see the jaguar running, and I can let that energy move with the jaguar. I see that thing that I feel stagnated and stuck, but I'm looking at a waterfall, and I can't help it. I'm feeling this, I'm hearing the sound, and feeling the water moving. My whole system moves that energy. And the funny example is if I don't know if you guys ever done that, but if you can't go to the bathroom, just turn on the faucet a little bit, let it run a little bit, right? And then you'll see how the body has a relationship to what's happening without the mind in between. It's a funny example, but it's really true. Our body and our nervous system, our endocrine system responds to what's happening in its nature around it. And what's happened is we've come all the way up to our heads, and we think it's all up in our heads. It's great. Thinkers and great thinkers, and especially all the beautiful thinkers and poets have brought. But even when you go to the beautiful thinkers, the poets, they describe so eloquently and bring you closer to nature itself. The shamanic tools that I have learned, and I have so quickly discovered that they were so helpful for my bottled up emotions and all the dead ends that I was meeting in my intellect, were the ones that really changed the energy, not only in what I was thinking, but also what my body was feeling. And they were the only things, practical tools and ways of being, that then I invested my whole energy into, all my anger, all my sadness, my frustration, and everything, and fear that I had. And when I invested my energy into those tools, I turned them around. And then when I was at National Institute of Health after my first surgery, that was going to be the first one out of 5, when I did my first surgery, they said, you look really good. After the 6 months, a year after I went for several CAT scans, they're like, you're good. Whatever it is you're doing, keep on doing. So big story. I didn't go into the details of what I was doing, but I'm grateful to the surgeons. But I'm also grateful to realize that it was what and how I dealt with the amount of energy that I had received. It was given to me and I was holding it, and no one else would take it because it was mine. It was my experience. It was mine to hold and mine to solve. Until I realized that it didn't need solving, until I realized that I needed to invest it into understanding how the human species works and how the human species exists. So one of the biggest tools that I've learned and I love, will be the most obvious to everyone, was when I learned that I can be connected with my power animal. You have 3 guesses what my power animal is. Just kidding. It's Bridget's cat, right behind her, right there. When I started walking with my Jaguar, who, let me say this, chose me. I didn't choose the power animal chose me. I started walking in a very, very different way. I started learning to walk softer with my feet, to try not to be heard. I did practices of walking without making a sound. And that passed through the bottom of my feet, up through my whole nervous system, started releasing tension in a whole other different way than I expected, than I ever imagined could be possible. The other beautiful tool that I've learned was fire ceremony. No one in the West had told me that I can write down a sentence or maybe a page of what I'm feeling and what's happening to me and how I feel about it, and I can put it in the fire and watch it burn. And no one told me that when your mind watches that story burn, it registers in the subconscious that it's burned. After I started burning some of the contracts and some of those stories, I was surprised how that moment on, how they stopped coming back. The thoughts stopped bubbling up. They weren't there. They were burnt. They were burnt, and my brain remembered. And then the cord cutting. There were some people that I felt hurt me, and I didn't realize that part of why I kept on thinking about this 1, 2, 3 people and how I was feeling about it, how they were actually pulling strings on me, energetic cords on me that would kickstart the emotion. And there I was again, without them even being present, without even seeing them 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. They would come to my mind, the whole emotion would come to my mind, and there I was again in the back room, being angry and being in fight or flight. No one had told me before that those energetic cords are there. They're in the electromagnetic field of the planet. They're connected to the electromagnetic field of my body, and hence they can trigger my endocrine system. So when I started cutting cords, I realized the power of forgiveness. I realized what forgiveness was all about. I didn't have to think about this person or that person in a negative connotation. I didn't have to teach this person anything. I realized that these other people had their own cross to carry. They had their own path to go through life. And that they will learn what they needed to learn at the time they needed to learn. What I needed to do is focus on my heart and what was happening in my body and forgive them. By cutting those cords, I was allowed to walk freely. And actually, when we cut cords, I see several of you have taken trainings with me, is what we say is, I set you free, right? I'm not saying anything bad towards that person. I set you free. And as I set that person free, I am free. And I can now live my own Dharma, my own karma. I can live in a whole other reality. Because the moment I've cut the cord, my whole shape of my energy field has changed. I've come back to closer to my original shape that I was given when I was first born. Is everyone with me? And not only I come closer, but I come fuller. I come wiser. I come with more space in my heart to forgive, with more space in my heart, with more space in my mind, to know that I don't have to react to things that are happening immediately. That I know that my job is, as a human being, is to keep my center. Because before, I thought my job was There were times, I didn't always think, but there were times that I thought my job was to tell someone else what they're doing wrong and how they should find their center so they don't take me out of my center. That sounds a little bit complicated, doesn't it? It's totally complicated. It never works. Have you ever tried it? Ever tried to change someone? And did it ever work for anyone? No, no hands for there. Maybe a little bit. Not really. So the shift, and if you want, if there's one thing I want to offer today and share with you, is that whatever you're given, receive it lovingly, and it will carry you through. It will carry. It's the trickiest thing, and it will carry you through. It will give you the amount of energy that you need to overcome it. The amount of energy you need to be motivated, inspired to make a big change. Because what happened, and I have no anger for any of those people, or sadness, or I don't feel frustrated, or I feel jealous, I don't feel resentment with 1, 2, 3 people, or whatever that was in my life. I don't feel that anymore. So all that energy is here for me to use to be more attentive to what is happening right now, to be 20, 30% more present in every moment of my life, to be in my center and forward in the center and in the front side of myself, so I can be there for and with my father and mother, with my wife, with my friends, with you guys, with my students, and with my teachers. I am more present. Time, the sense of time has changed drastically in the way I live, because I get that 20, 30% more energy. That's 20, 30% more time that has come back to me to be able to cultivate, to be able to learn something else, to be able to move in a new direction. So 2 things the mind needs to help you if you are working with someone is that once you know you've gotten that amount of energy, 2 things that the mind needs is point of references. So I invite you to find your power animal and learn about power animals. And I invite you to look into saints. I've shared this with some of you that know me. I'm not Christian, but I always walk with Saint Francis, with Christ. And actually, in the last few months, I've been walking with Joseph, with Christ's father. And these power animals and these human beings give me a way and a point of reference to where my mind, how wide and how far out it can go. They keep my mind from spinning out. They hold me here, and they allow me and show me how to walk. Right? What would Christ do? What would Shiva do? What would Joseph do? It's not poor Ray, what happened to poor Ray, and now he has all the right to be angry until he blows his right kidney to fire. Points of references, and points of references have to be something greater than us. They have to be archetypal. Gods and goddesses, and I invite you to go through all the religions, because you might find some gods and goddesses that will really, really work for you. And at least for that, I'm going to say that I'm grateful to Maestro Panduro, who, when we returned from the river and we arrived at his house, he took off his baseball cap that had Mary of the Guadalupe in front of his baseball cap, and he put it on his altar. And my Western mind was going back and forth. And then he bowed, and I looked at his altar, and Shiva was there, a jaguar skull and an alligator skull, and Mother Mary, and several other gods, and some masks that looked like Tibetan masks that turned out that they were from the Peruvian jungle masks. And he looked at me and knew exactly what was happening. I must have had a really baffled look in my face. He said, "What, you have only one God?" I said, "I'm sorry, I have a lot of friends and they can help me." So I'm not against any God, but I feel that when we can source from many religions, that was what I learned, is I can source from many archetypal stories that I can know how to come back to, and with how to respond, how to be able to deal with and stay in my integrity, in my center and front. The other thing is, the second thing that the mind needs is it's not the most important one. They're equally important. The mind needs to have a point of destination. I've worked with hundreds of people, And I know when I'm on my first or second or third or fourth, whatever it is, session, I know, and it could be the first 10 minutes, it doesn't matter, or the 10th session or a year later, but I know my client or my friend who is working through the healing, I know now they've turned the page and they're practically healed and they're definitely coming out of it when they start talking to me about what they're doing next. When they've stopped talking about what happened back then 10 years ago. Because that back then, and I know, and I'm going to say it without being afraid, because I honor everyone's pain. I honor everyone's anger. I honor everyone's jealousy. I honor everyone's resentment. I honor those emotions. I honor it. And I've had plenty of all of those. But if I stay in them, but what I want to say is that that event that happened 10 years ago is as good as fiction right now. As hurtful as it was, as bad as an event as it was, as real as it was, it's as good as fiction because it's not here. And if I just let myself be hostage of it, and if I can't come to that next stage of healing to say, that's my point of destination, I can't heal. So remember, the mind, once you get all this energy, you need two things, a point of reference and point of destination. And you can call that point of destination a mission. It might be a mission. It might be a new job. It might be a big journey. But the thing is that you have to take all this energy and make it into something, or else it will always hold you. It will always hold you back. And you'll always say, yeah, of course, because that's what happened. And I'll tell my friends over and over again. That's what happened, until, even your friends start getting bored. This time, like, yeah, we know what happened 12 years ago. It's like, did anything happen yesterday? You got something for us here? Even if they love you and respect your emotions, etc. But even more importantly, it's not about the friends and it's not about the family. We should, though, be there for our friends, definitely be there for our family, all that family. But we need to be here and present for our own self, for the journey of your soul. For the journey that we are living in this lifetime and the next ones that are coming. The journey that we have, you want to take all that energy and you have to make it. The only way to really get the most out of it is say, this is what I'm doing with it. That's where I'm going. I have a point of reference and I have a point of reference and a point for destination. I'm seeing a question and I'm going to just check in the chat box and see here. Thank you for saying that cord cutting saved your life and changed your life. Same here. And thank you, Jose, for asking, how do we set the starting point there? That is a really good one, Jose. Thank you. The starting point should start with something that is memorable to the mind. It has to start with the fact that you have decided to heal. It has to start with the fact that you have decided that you've had enough of that repetition and that you decide that you want new life, because there's millions of things that you can experience in life. There's so many experiences you have, and we don't. We have a slice, each one of us in our lifetime, we have a slice of experiences. But if we are the people that stayed in anger for 20, 30 years, then we barely lived anything. So, Jose, that's an awesome question. It's about making a decision, making a promise, pulling in and inviting a point of reference, inviting in a saint, an avatar, inviting in a power animal, and saying, I am beginning. For me, my beginning point was my end point. When I felt I knew that I was going to die, I decided that I was going to come out of that. And I decided that for whatever time I had, I would try to teach this work. I'm going to say, please put your questions in the chat box, if that's okay with you. And there can be more, and you can reach out to us through email at any time if you want to go a little bit deeper on a personal level. But in honoring our time together, I want to say that for me, that was a Jaguar Path, where I am now serving something bigger than me. And when that big lens of Ray, who was suffering and who had so much pain, and I'm not mocking myself, it was difficult. I was in it. That's why I say I respect and I honor whatever it is you're going through, because it takes over, and it's a big entity, whatever it is. It takes over, and I respect it because I know it. And it was hard to come out of it. But once I decided that I'm going to bring my attention and all that energy I received to put it into creating the Jaguar Path, then there was nothing that my day had to do with my old anger, hurt, or upsetness, or whatever. And even now, when things happen, I hear something coming at me, and sometimes I hear the funniest things. Someone just throws something at you, and you're like, you just said that, huh? And now what happens to me is that it bounces into my heart and into the Jaguar Path. And I say, how is this relative to my mission? How do I respond to this person that said, someone just said, well, go to hell or something, wanted to insult me, whatever, a silly example. Someone insulting you. When I hear it, I'm not insulted anymore. What I hear is taken back to the room of my mission. And I look at it and said, well, how can this serve the Jaguar Path mission? What is the correct response that will use this energy that I just received to go back directly into the Jaguar Path? It has nothing to do with Ray anymore. It has to do with what I'm serving. It has to do with my mission. And this is what all saints will say. This is what everyone on a mission will say, that it has to be about a mission, because if it's about me, and I'll end with this, there's a gift in life that I will never feel complete. You ever feel that you're not totally complete? There's a moment in life that we feel more complete as we've taken care of some things, but there's a lack, there's an incompletion, and that's a gift of life. And that's what we wake up the next day for. That's what we go through the next lifetime for, to complete. And of course, it's infinite, and it's a gift. It's a gift. It's another gift of life. So I'm open to one more question, or how are we doing with time? I am at the time. Jose, please do send us an email at raychrist@jaguarpath.com. Yes? You got it. Thank you for being here tonight. I hope that this has been inspiring. I hope that it's been helpful. I truly believe in it with my heart, and I know that it's changed the way I view the world. Things still happen that are difficult, like having to move a country. Things still happen that are big. And I receive them as an inspiration to humanity, as an inspiration to come back, not looking for the manager or to complain, but coming back to say, how can I offer? How can I help? And this is why the shamans of Peru call themselves the wounded healers. I am grateful to the 4th stage cancer I had. I'm grateful for the difficulties I've had, because they have humbled me, they have awakened me, and they have given the depth of compassion and the depth of humanity that I now have. And I bow to anything else that's coming along already. And I bow and I vow to stay on my mission, and all that energy that comes in to keep on walking with Shiva, with Christ, with Hanuman, St. Francis, with Jaguar, with Wolf, with Hawk, with dolphins, so I can not fall apart, so I cannot live for 10 years in anger, but so I can take that energy and put it back to mission and bring in one more positive thing to humanity. Shifting the energy, especially for the new times that are coming. Let's make it more positive. Let's make it more love, because that is the essence of life, and that is where everything is. And as my father said, everything is light and everything is love. Love is light, rather. Love is light. Live in the light. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you. I love you. And I look forward to joining again. Remember, 14th of the Wednesday, 14th of this month, 6 p.m. masterclass, 7 p.m. The new masterclass free. Join us. Thank you. And if anyone has a question, please, we'd love to This is our mission. We have a lot of energy to put back to emails to answer. So thank you, thank you. Horpichai, may the Jaguar be with you. May your beloved allies be with you. I invite you to close your eyes for a moment to feel within. May our time together have been time for courage. May our time together have invited and inspired courage in you. May it have invited and inspired clarity, hope, light. May we all continue the rest of our night more evolved, more at peace, and more whole, more ready to offer and to serve a mission. More ready to forgive and to step into our heart fully. Namaste. Gently inhale and open your eyes. Namaste, namaste. Horpichai, thank you. Good night, all. Good night. Reach out. Reach out. Please stay in touch.
Thank you.
Lots of love. Thank you.
Right.
Much. Hello, Nina, too. Thank you, Ray.
Love you.
Love you all, beloved ones.
See you later, Ray.
See you guys. See you soon.